I can't tell when it's live or not. So I'm going to.
I see a message that says you are live.
Uh, oh, well then I should start talking. Okay.
Someone is live.
Oh, interesting. I'm just okay. Let me take that off. I don't know what that does, so maybe I won't do that. All right. So
Message that says you are live.
yes, that's me. Okay. Oh wow. It's typing out the words on here. That's neat. I didn't know it did that. Okay. I'm learning. Alrighty. I wonder if I put this on here and if Sherry's actually there, if she could join too. I don't know. I'm gonna put it on. Well, no, I don't. Oh, hide. Okay. Not sure. Oh, somebody just heard it. So if anyone's here, I have no idea if you're here or not because I can't tell. I can only tell when somebody leaves a comment. So if you leave a comment saying hello that you're here, then that'd be great. And if you have a specific question about mentoring, that'd be great as well. So, all right, let's get started though. So my name is Sejana, and I'm so happy to have Carole here. She agreed to when I asked her, Carole, because we meet every week, and I asked Carole, would you be oh, Sherry, hi Sherry. So would you be interested in um, letting me interview you live to talk about mentoring? I mean, it's what you already do. So, and you said let me pray about it, but you'd be interested in it. So I was thinking you meant like the next, like you were agreeing to the next day or something like that. But no, you wanted to pray about it, which I wasn't thinking about that. So anyway. Of course, I'm always praying, but you were very intentional with seeking the Lord and trying to be make the most of this time. So I really appreciate that. So Uh, so I don't know how. So me, I'm in Korea, as you know, and the time now is 9:15 p.m. I'm feeling a little distracted because I'm normally not doing this at this time of night. Normally I'm up in the morning doing these videos, not or in the afternoon, but definitely not at night. So I had to shoo the kids out of here. We got done eating. I was like, you need to leave the kitchen, because I got something to do. And so so in my mind, I'm just like, okay. But how are you doing though? And where are you joining me from?
I am joining you from Fort Worth, Texas, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning here. So I got my coffee and I'm ready to chat a little bit. Yeah. So thanks for inviting me, Sajana. I did honestly.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to praying, I needed to get my hair cut. She did let me wait till I could get my hair, so I didn't have the quarantine look. So
Well, I don't know. You still look the same to me, Carole.
okay.
Lovely, really. When we meet every week, I'm not checking out your hair, mostly listening to what you have to say about the Bible and challenging
And
me with the word. And yeah,
yeah, but
I
I did
mean,
want to
we've
pray about
been,
it. Go ahead.
no, you did want to pray about it. Did you
Yeah.
come up with anything? Did God,
Well,
anything in particular?
what I wanted to also think about things that I felt like would be important points to bring out. So it's been helpful. I've been making notes for the last few days. So just things that I wanted to include. You know, I don't want to think about it afterward and it's like, oh, I should have said this. Yeah. So, but the timing is good. I think after the opportunity that I had last night to meet with people that I had mentored in the past. So it was good timing to do this morning.
Yes. And I actually wrote a little post about that, and I'll just summarize what I said. Basically, joining your 75th birthday party on Zoom, which, first of all, I never met anyone that had that idea to to meet together on Zoom, bringing together women that you've met with one on one over, at some point in your life, and then also continuing to meet with many of them, and you've seen them since then too. These aren't people that lives in Texas with you. You've intentionally kept in contact with these ladies, and I thought it was just me and Sherry, or the couple of people that you mentioned from time to time about things, but there were 21 ladies that joined us in the call, and they each said the same things that I've been telling other people about, our relationship, which is now going on 11 years of meeting together weekly. And what a legacy to see that, to actually see it and hear them all sort of say the same thing about how much you've meant to them, just your faithfulness, and taking time to sit down with them and share with them the word, um, and just share your life with them, and your marriage with them, and your raising of your own children with them. And it's really all of the families that you've touched, you and Lee, to see that and be a part of that. Yes, wow. um, yeah, what are your thoughts after? Yeah, that was last night for you. You went to sleep, and now it's morning, and you're talking about mentoring. Do you have some thoughts to share?
Well, well, first of all, what you just expressed is our ministry verse that we've had for many years, Lee's and mine. Second Thess, I mean, First Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8, that says, and I learned it in the RSV, so that's how I say it. So, being affectionately desirous of you, we were ready to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you had become very dear to us. And so that's always been significant in our ministry, is sharing the word, but also the relationship, of which we benefit also from the relationship of people. So we haven't just, had a class, meet with people, go through a book, move on to somebody else, and do that with many people. Although there have been people that we haven't developed extended relationships with, but if possible, we do, and we do maintain that. So people that I hadn't, that I had met with, as you saw, 30 to 40 years ago, we've still seen them through the years. We make a point in our trips to travel around to go visit them, um, because they have become very dear to us.
I was wondering, how did you get it started with doing this? I after that experience, I did share with Daniel, like, wow, like the call, there was like 21 ladies on there, and they're all saying the same thing, and I'm just sharing. I was like, and just, and I said, and he said, yeah. And so I'll tell you, one of the things that I said from that is that I heard several ladies mention how I brought them to you, like how, and I was thinking, wow, I'm kind of doing that too. And I feel like I am trying to intentionally be a part of people's lives as you did to me. And so my husband said, well, who was it that did that for you? Where did you get that from? And I said, well, I don't know. I think nobody, I think you didn't have that. So did you have someone like you in your life doing this thing, to, meeting with you, sharing life with you? How did you get started doing this?
Well, yeah, you're right. I didn't ever have a one person, because I didn't become a Christian until I was about 30. We'd been married about 9 years. And, but the Lord was working and in a variety of ways to draw us to himself. And part of that was we were in a invited to be part of a small group Bible study that and this was before Lee was a Christian, but he went because God was really already working in his life. We went, and that couple were involved with the Navigators, the Christian organization that's focus is on discipling. So we were in that. So we were the first thing what we did with them was a little marriage thing, and then we started going through some of the discipleship material that the Navigators produced. So beginning with being with them, and then they invited us to go to Colorado Springs to this conference way back 1978 at Glen Eyrie Castle, and so we went to that. So we started being around people from the Navigators, which that being their focus is discipling and bringing people to Christ and helping them to grow and then reproducing those lives. Then we started learning about that. We actually also heard it in the church that we were part of at the time. And so even though no one took us on to mentor, we were
You
around,
mean
we heard the
individual?
concept. We grew, I mean, it was more in a group that I learned, but that also led to another one of my philosophical perspectives on mentoring is that I don't wait for somebody to come ask me. I had no idea in the beginning with that first small group. I had no idea that would be an idea. I could go ask her to meet with me. I didn't know. I was not the kind of person like in school that went up and asked the teacher if I could get some extra time to understand this. I think that's probably a related thing. I just learned as a part of a group. And so I did that in this also. And because, and so that's I was trying to think how I can kind of, as I tell you about what happened to me and how and this affected Lee too, how we have come to our particular perspective on mentoring ministry has come somewhat from our own experience. And like in that very first small group that we were in, one of the other couples that we were a part that was in there was the host's next door neighbors. And he was a pilot for Delta Airlines, I think. Some pilot. He was a pilot. Anyway, they were like an exciting couple. And so it was like the host couple kind of focused on them and the great potential they had. And we just, lived in a house. Lee had a job he'd like, he had little children. And we looked so stable, which is kind of a funny thing based on what's happened since then. We just looked like people that would just live there in Denton, Texas for, the rest of our lives and be good people and, be a part of a church and just do that. They didn't see any potential in us. And so they didn't invest in us. So we have tried to not prejudge people because you just can't know what God might do in anybody's life. You can't say, oh, these people look like they would be great if they just got on fire for God. Look at all this great stuff they would do. You don't know. You don't know what this other person might do that seems like they might be less effective. It's not our job to do that. Our job is just to share what we can, encourage them to grow and to be whoever God wants them to be. So anyway, so that happened. So because that was part of, as new believers, we were exposed to the idea of discipling quickly. and the idea that any individual can make a difference in somebody else's life. And one of the things we used to hear was that there's only two things that are eternal, which are people and the Word of God. So if those are what you invest in, then you're investing in eternal values, not things that are going to go away, rust, burn, whatever. So that whole concept, and it just was exciting to us because to know that we could be used. I mean, we didn't have great ideas like we're going to go do some kind of wonderful things too. We didn't have. It wasn't like we had great ideas of because we didn't know. We just were excited that God could use us wherever we were. But the more that we got involved with what we were doing in the church there, and so actually, like with Beth Lewis that you met last night, that lived down the street, we were meeting. I mean, Lee was still in this computer job and stuff, but we started being involved mentoring before we were doing it before we went into military ministry, the full-time ministry, because that was something we could do. And so as God would bring some people into our lives, then we started doing that. It was very satisfying. And so we loved having small group Bible studies. We loved having opportunity to be involved with people. It just was exciting to us. And so as that would go along, we began to say, well, maybe someday when our kids are grown, we are going to go somewhere, and not ever overseas. For some reason, the Lord just never put out of the country, but we just thought, we just wanted to go someplace maybe there was a need. Because if you live in we lived in Denton at that time, which is north of Dallas and Fort Worth, and there's just churches every place here. There's a sense of being a very over-churched area. There's churches on every corner, almost literally in some places. So that, which does not make everybody a Christian, obviously, but there was a sense of that, and we just thought, oh, we're just going to go someplace up north where the Yankees are, is actually what we thought, where they don't know much. They're not as, we were in the Bible Belt. We were going to go someplace else. Well, we learned that that got taken care of. We moved to South Dakota. And there's lots of good Christian people and Christians in South Dakota. So actually, God is everywhere. But what we were attracted to was the idea of either college or military ministry, where it is harder to reach by the local church. So you may have churches on every corner, but if you have a college campus, sometimes the students are hard to make contact with by a church. And in a military, of course, it's much harder because you can't even get on a lot of times. And there's chapels, but they're uneven in their effects. So we were really attracted to that, an opportunity to be involved in something. So we actually, when we became involved with military ministry, and it was much more than mentoring, then the mentoring part has always just been a significant element of our ministry, but not the only part.
I want to pause for a second and go back to before you start talking about the military ministry, which is how we met, I guess. When you first met with the couple who were working with the navigators, and you said that they were focusing on, like this other couple that was in the small group that you were attending, that you and Lee were attending. Well, I had two questions for that. One is, how did that shift from you were part of a small group and then they invited you to, I guess, the navigators conference and all, but how did that turn into then you becoming, I guess, you being a part of the ministry? did they like replicate and you made your own small group, or how did you actually start serving, I guess, working?
Well, okay. So what happened was way back then. Okay, I'll back up to that part. So we were a part of their group, and Lee became a Christian as a part of that. Now we were also involved with the church, which at that time was did not have a really strong discipleship ministry, but it was a they did was the teaching was fun, was good. Well, we because we were getting this input about being disciples and making disciples, both in that group and then um, I don't remember exactly where else. We were hearing it in both places from the church and there. Anyway, we just invited that couple over and we said,
The
um,
Delta Airlines couple or the
no, 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 no,
leaders
the
couple?
host couple, yeah, Bob and Ruth
Okay,
Ann,
okay.
those. But we
Uh-huh.
invited Bob and Ruth Ann over and we said, which is we said, we want to be disciples and we want to make disciples. We're
Ah,
just as
okay. That's
excited.
interesting. I didn't know. So you and Lee went to them and asked them, "Hey, we want to do more.
Well, we didn't know
We
what
want
to
to."
do. It's like, people
Oh,
tell you, do this is great. This is what everybody should be doing. Well, so how do you do that? What do you
yeah.
do? What do you do first? They said, they said, well, I think they were surprised. But anyway, then they said, well, you could do what we did, which was, see, this is in the really old days. I'm sure it's hard to imagine, but the very first thing we did with them was this marriage class. And what it was, if you can believe this, there was a couple that had done this marriage series and they were on cassette tapes. And so we
Mhm.
would get together and listen to the tapes, and then we had discussion. And that's what we had done with them. That first, it was like 6 weeks or something like that.
Was it
And
just that couple and you and Lee?
no,
Just
no,
two
no, that
couples.
no, it was several couples, and then
Oh,
they had said, we're going to do this discipling. We're going to do these other books, 6 books, um, and it's not the same books that you and I did. It's the Design for Discipleship series, but they're similar, same idea. And did we want to do that? So we started going through that, and it was while we were going through that actually Lee became a Christian, and so over that time we were gaining a lot of interest and excitement about being a part of what God was doing, and we saw this as something we could do. We liked having relationships, have people over to our house and stuff, and that was it appealed to us. So that's what they said. Well, you could make a list of everybody that you know and invite them and have them come and do the marriage series thing, because it would be we wouldn't be teaching, we would just listen and we'd have questions and whatever.
mhm,
So we said,
mhm.
okay, we'll do that. And so we made a list of, I don't know if that list has survived, but it was a pretty long list of people from where Lee worked, from our neighbors, from the church that we were going to. It was a pretty long list. And we just started inviting people. And we've had absolutely the best response than we have had probably ever since that. I mean, everybody said yes. And it was like, oh my goodness, is this scary? I don't know how many. Easily we had 10 couples, 10 or 12 couples. I mean, it was amazing. And it was like, really, these people are, but because marriage is something that is,
Yeah.
people are interested in, and because people weren't doing small group Bible studies a lot back at that point,
Mhm.
And so
Mm.
they people came to our house, and um, and so we did the best we could, but it was fun to say. They had people divide up in small groups. They went through and talked about the questions. It was just exciting to us, and we took that, and I believe it was such an encouragement from the Lord that that's what He wanted us to be doing. And
So I have another question. So when you did that, I know that was under the guidance and the suggestion of the host, because you guys had just went through that
Mhm.
material and now,
Right.
so was this under or a part of a church where they, I guess they endorsed you and said, yes, you can do this program and you can invite people over to your home as a part of a small, or was that kind of like on your own where you
It was
sort
on
of,
our own. It was totally on our own. Yeah, it had
yeah,
nothing to do with the church. And
okay.
those people
Wow.
went to different churches.
Oh, went to different
And
churches. That's wow. Yeah. Because you pick
well, yeah,
people not
because
from
we
the
were
church,
inviting
just
neighbors.
in your life, just whoever you
Yeah,
thought.
that's what they said. Invite anybody, everybody we know. That's what they said.
Wow.
So so we just did it.
Hmm.
And like I said, I mean that I just remember there was a couple that lived down the street. Their kids played with my kids, and she came in, and they were Baptists. We were not Baptists, and Baptists tend to be have more Bible studies and do a lot of stuff that the church we were going to didn't have. But anyway, she said, "I never thought I'd go to a." What did she say? I never thought I'd go to a Bible study in my first Bible study in the neighborhood, and it'd be with Methodists. Anyway, we were Methodists, but anyway, so she didn't care. But it was like nobody was really doing that. Now, some of the people didn't even go to church. That
Okay.
was not the criteria. It was everybody we know. And so
Hmm.
I'm not, and so we just had a really good turnout, and we did it several weeks. And obviously, you don't have everybody come every time. We did, but it still was a good. It was just limited time, so that then that enabled us to start to say, well, we could do, which is what we did next, the same thing that we had done with Bob and Ruth Ann with the discipleship study. And so that's what we did. Um, that's what we did next. We just invited,
As
but not so
a
many
group?
people, a very
Right.
limited a number of people. And so that, because
Okay.
that was more of a small group. But
So I have
yeah,
another question.
okay, that's
I
fine.
kind of,
I
um,
hadn't thought about that sequence for a little bit, but that was true. That's what they.
um, now I know that you're a mathematical major, right? And I know, right? Isn't your degree in math? So,
It is.
so I was telling my husband how organized you were in going over all of the guests for your party. Like you thought out where you were living, what you were doing, you and Lee, and then how you met people as to when we were introduced. Because I mean, you're just very organized like that. I'm not like that. Well, I mean, I am sort of, but I'm just kind of going off what you're saying. And because the purpose of this video for me, I mean, I don't know, whoever is tuning in or whoever might watch it later, if anyone has a question, of course, you can ask the question and I can try and look at it, but to ask it. But the purpose of this meeting, and I'm so glad that you're willing to spend time to talk about this and to record it in case there's somebody else out there that's like, I wish I knew what to do. This is exactly what you went to talk to the host of that group and it's like, I want a disciple. What do I do? Is the reason
Mm-hmm.
why I wanted to have this meeting with you.
Okay.
Two reasons. One is because I I know that so I think who will watch this video? The people that will watch this video will be people who I'm guessing there will be people who either are mentoring people or want to be mentored. They want to know what that's about. They want to know how can I mentor other people? Or people that will watch this video might be people who are like, okay, I'm doing that already. I'm mentoring people. I'm, leading people. I'm sharing with them what I know about Jesus, and, they're growing, but what's next? Like, what's the next step? And that's where I feel like I was just like, I am looking forward to uh, the fact that we're moving from Korea to back to the United States in September, which is in a few months. And also looking at the fact that Daniel is retiring from the military in 2.5 years. And so as he continues to talk about not working anymore, I'm thinking about, well, what will I do to support the family if we need to do that, and just, how can I continue to use the gifts and talents and things that I feel like God has put in me. And so I'm looking at your life, you and Lee, and I know that you're doing the very thing that I would love to do, and I am kind of doing, but how do I do that as a ministry, which is what you guys are doing? Like, you are, I mean, I get newsletters from you that say, and it's on my refrigerator, the latest one says, mentoring ministry partners. I don't know if you changed the logo or not, but I mean, it used to be military mentoring, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
But now it's but anyway, I know there's no way we can talk about all of your journey in this time, which
Yeah.
you have done a whole lot of things, but just um uh well, I guess, one, when you were talking about your hosts, and they were looking at that one couple who looked like they would do something with
Yeah.
with material, and just like go out into the world. I mean, he's already going out into the world. Maybe he will spread the gospel. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. But
I don't know
how do
about
you
that either.
decide? Yeah, and you said don't prejudge people what you think they might do or how God might use them. And that kind of stuck out to me. I never heard you say that, but then again, we never really had this particular conversation before. But as for me, when I think about my time and how best to use it, I do that. Which, so that I want to know what you think about that. So I look at what a person, what they're in, what I don't know. I don't just look at that. I mean, I think personalities matter. What is this person? Do they seem sincere and wanting to know God? Or not just even that they don't seem. Like, I feel compelled to share. I don't know, but can you talk more about how do you manage your time? We all have the same amount of time, so how do you decide who, like, when to offer an invitation, and then how to structure that. And I guess now you don't have children in the home now, where I do, but I heard you say that at the time that you were doing inviting people for the marriage mentoring study, you had children, but you also had a husband who also wanted to do the same thing. But can you just talk about how you do that? I guess make the offer.
Okay. All right. So when I say prejudge, I'm talking about judging by whether somebody looks like they're an exciting person or whatever. Because and if you heard some of the what I said about some of the people last night, so you're one of the examples. But and like Stephanie Erdley that I mentioned, that at pedo in a group, sometimes there's one person that's like, I am just interested, and I'm asking questions, I'm paying it, this is important to me, and so I have typically am observant of those people, and all through
Oh,
their,
okay.
what I mean. So there is a judging, but it's more just a recognizing a person's interest, not saying, well, this person's kind of quirky, they don't really get along with people well, or they're kind of quiet. I don't see how God could use them,
Oh, okay,
or
okay.
whatever, because I promise you,
Right.
there are people who go that way. And so uh, it's not deny. I mean, you're not acknowledging God's power in
Yeah.
people. And so you just don't know. I mean,
Okay.
some of the people that we have known that are quietest. I mean, I someday I'll tell you the whole long story about our cadet friend that was friends with Danita's friend Will. Anyway, I mean he's been a significant person. You would not guess that if you had just first met him, because he's very quiet, but is a he's very good about interacting with people. Well, not every, so that's why you can't judge, just because somebody is real boisterous and you think they'd be a great speaker and whatever, maybe they would be. But the people who are quiet, who impact people that's what God has for them. So here's another, and so what we did, another thing that we learned is in the early days of ways of evaluating people is if they were fat. And I tell you that before, FAT, faithful, available, and teachable. Those are the criteria.
Okay. Yeah.
You look for the fat
No, you
people.
didn't. Okay.
And so the
Faithful, available, and teachable. Yes. That makes, yeah, I get
and
that.
so you know that because you've been involved with people. And so if they're faith, so if any one of those things are missing, it's very hard to um,
Mhm.
have any kind of impact at that point in their life. Now they can change, you know, in any of those areas. So that's a way to evaluate, really,
Mhm.
if
Okay.
you have
Yeah.
the opportunity.
Yes, sorry. All right. Okay, so thank you. I'm glad I asked that so you could clarify and then tell me the fat analogy. So I will use that in my mind. Going back to your how God was using you and shaping you. I know we met because of your military focus,
Right.
because it was at Fort Bliss, Texas, where we met. So, are you guys military? How did you? What made you think about possibly, targeting, I guess, military people, persons, families, soldiers, airmen? How did that happen?
Okay. Well, like I said, we were looking when we were stirred up and wanted to go do something for God somewhere, some place that there was a need. And we were aware of both college and military ministries that the navigators had, because that was an influence in those early days. And then, I mean, we went to college, but we also had had some military experience because Lee was drafted right after he graduated from college during the Vietnam era.
Mhm.
And we went to Germany for 2 years. And we had had a negative church experience before we went. And so we had pretty much said, we don't even really need to go to church, because we didn't really, it didn't seem to be any value to us. And we'd had some negative experiences. So, but when we were in Germany, though, I did go to chapel because, they had childcare and, the deal. I went to PWC.
Yes,
So
I do know.
that was my first experience in PWC. Even ended up on the board. And if you can believe this, I was the publicity person, and the publicity person in the olden days had to make posters and go put them up in the different chapels. Me, a math major, making posters. It was God stretching me. But anyway, the
But you went to all the different chapels, so God was doing something.
well, I
Like
mean, I had to go put them
putting
up and so anyway. My point is that we were very needy as a young couple. And so when we became Christians and then became aware that there was opportunity or a need or ways that people were doing ministry to the military, then that appealed to us. Lee had been a lieutenant over a whole bunch of with responsibility for a bunch of soldiers that had been drafted and were very unhappy with being in Germany, with being in the army. And there was a lot of trouble in the army in those days in Germany. But he has said, as part of his testimony, I mean, he wished he could do something for them. He had nothing to offer as a solution to help them. And so after he became a Christian and we became aware of the military, and particularly we were even more affirmed, I guess, when we moved to South Dakota, and first we're getting involved there at Ellsworth Air Force Base, at the satisfaction, because that's part of what he said. He was so glad now he had something to share with these guys who they weren't drafted, but they weren't real excited about being in South Dakota. So it was another good opportunity to reach people, and we just appreciated it. So it really appealed to us because we had seen our need. If somebody had come and shared with us as a young couple in Germany, it would have been really good. So that's how. So because we knew somebody that was on staff with the Navigators in Rapid City at Ellsworth, and we would get their newsletters, and it was like, oh, we want to go do that. That sounds fun. And that's how God works in people's lives. I mean, I enjoy reading stories about missionaries in China, South Africa, whatever, all these different places, but it never made me go, I just want to go do that. And so God just calls different people to different situations. And that just appealed to us through a variety of situations. We moved to Rapid City, and Lee was still he was able to get a job with his computer skills, and we moved. Our kids were, at that point, Cheryl was 15 and Kenny was 12. So it was a major change for them, as you can imagine, from the big city, Dallas area, to South Dakota. But they're wonderful people. We loved Rapid City. We loved South Dakota. And we loved the military. And the longer that we were involved there doing ministry in the weekends and at night, when we could be a part, go out and do Bible studies and different activities, then we just, we loved it more, and we wanted to give more time to it. So, but all along, from then and on, we were giving, the mentoring was a kind of a subset, or came alongside. So like when I met Leslie in Rapid City at the church that we were going to, and her husband was Air Force, then we were doing a bunch of other ministries, but I met Leslie, and she was a new Christian, and she was very motivated to grow. And so I just started meeting with her. Then eventually she and her husband were in a small group with some others. So it's been the way we have functioned, is to try to have, a gathering of larger groups. A lot of times, because we were in the military, we had to function along our legitimacy, and because we were not military, once Lee finished his commitment, then he got out of the Army. But so we, as a part there, we were legitimate on military installations by getting connected to a chaplain who saw that we could be helpful to them in some way, and then they would, give us passes. We would be a part of that chapel program, and we did what they needed us to do, sometimes some unusual things, but we were part of that. And we then had the freedom and opportunity to meet people and to reach out. So whether it was groups of soldiers and airmen that met at our house, or we took them camping and all these various things, lots of different activities. but always we knew that people's lives were changed when we met with them one-on-one. So we're always kind of keeping an eye out for that. So the reason that, so kind of in transitioning here on, and I know your interest is on, how this is that now we're a mentoring ministry, but we're not, and we still have our faith missionaries. In other words, we have a support team that has provided for us for many years, but that's because the great majority, there's a few that have changed, but the great majority were part of when we were in the military ministry. So they came along. The great majority are people who were part of what we were doing and thought it was important, had been helpful to them, and they were excited about opportunities for the military. And so they've been a part of our support team ever since then. But in 2015, when we left El Paso the last time, then we really, there kind of had come a point that's like, we still love the military and we would love to be a part of military ministry, but for various reasons, some of them were our reasons that we was like, well, it's hard. It's hard. It's one thing to be everybody's parent. And when you start being everybody's grandparent, it's a lot harder to get connected. Particularly Lee had trouble in a PWC or something. When there's women that are married are much more open to having some input from an older woman a lot of times. But 20-year-old guys are not so excited about a 70-year-old, unless they're just very unusual and had a good relationship with their grandfathers, something like that. But it got harder and harder to just have a natural connection. You can't go up and say, we're really fun and we want to help you. We could get together. No, then you're really weird. So we just kind of realized that we wanted to go be a part of a real church because we'd spent 30 years in military chapels, and that probably our time was up as far as the kind of ministry we had been doing. But the mentoring part could continue because those were people relationships. And we had an opportunity in Colorado Springs to do a marriage mentoring ministry, which we had not particularly done that before, but we helped that church there to get that established. And so as a part of all of that, then in order to be honest with our people that get our newsletter and the people that are on our support team, then we changed. I mean, it's our little organization. So we can call it what we want. And so we switched it to the mentoring ministry because that is basically what we do these days.
Mentoring ministry versus the military ministry. That
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Right.
How did you? I'm not seeing particular questions about mentoring, which is fine. So I'm just going to ask you what I want to ask you. So, which is, how did you? I know you said most of the faith partners, which I haven't heard that term before, but I guess that's what they're called. I don't know. I'm new to all this, but how did you get your faith partners to just, I mean, they obviously seen the work that you were doing because they were probably a part of your ministries in some way. But how did you get them to, I guess, start investing in you with money, to actually send you money each month so that you can continue to do the work that you were doing full time, like as a job.
Right. Well, we benefited greatly. We were with the navigators for either associate staff or full-time staff for about 10 years. And so as a part of that, when we, not as associate staff, we didn't raise associate staff with the navigators meant that you participated in a lot of other benefits, but that you had some other type of job. You just kind of did it as extra thing in your life, your second job. But and so we did that like at the beginning in Rapid City before we went full time. We were associate staff for a little bit, and then we became full time. But as we became full time, the navigators helped us to know how to go and raise support. And during that time, because the income went through the navigators, obviously, and then would take a cut, and then they would give it to us, the people that were giving for our ministry. Well, that did a couple of things. One of them was it gave legitimacy to the giving on the front end, because in the beginning we were approaching people. We got lists of people that had navigator connections but were not connected to any navigator staff person. In other words, that maybe they had subscribed to a publication or had ordered, well, they hadn't ordered, but mostly it had to do with a particular publication that was used then, this Through the Bible thing. If you were, a lot of people subscribed to that, but they were not part of any other ministry, so you weren't taking money from another staff person. You always got that going on. But we would get lists, and they were called the flat list, because it was a computer list of these people. And so we would, some of them were in El Paso, and because I had family in El Paso, it was easy to go there and make connections there. Some were in around Colorado Springs, down in Pueblo. I mean, so part of it was we were approaching people that we did not know. But what we were doing was sharing the vision of the military ministry, and the fact that that we were going to be starting, because first we were in Colorado Springs when we were full time at Fort Carson. We were there for a couple of years before we went to El Paso the first time. And so like when so we started out, so we were pretty low. We also approached everybody we had known in Denton. We came back to Denton, where we had lived for many years and gone to church and talked to people. Same thing, presenting the vision and asking them to pray about being a part of it. So we spent a lot of time during those first years making those presentations. And so some people, they had the opportunity. Some did, some didn't. As time went on, then there would be more. I mean, at some point, we quit needing to do that, in the sense that people were aware that this is how we lived and what we did, and they would say, I want to be a part of it. And so then they would choose to give without being asked. But in the early years, and so the credibility of the organization, that's why it's not like we just said, we're starting our organization and we're going around and doing that. And what happened then was, when we left the Navigators in 2000, officially 2001, then because we had a connection with Bethel Bible Church in El Paso. I mentioned last night about a difficult time in our first time when all the civilian ministries were kicked off of Fort Bliss. And during that time, it was about a year that we were there before we realized nothing is ever going to eventually it got better, but it wasn't going to get better quick. And so we left and moved back to Colorado Springs. But during that year or so that we were banned from Fort Bliss, then we went to Bethel and we did ministry there. We were part of that, but we tried to scope out any military people that were visiting, and we still tried to maintain military contact without being actually, which we did, because there were a fair amount, that would visit, that would come to that church. So we established that relationship with the church, with the people there, with the leadership, so that when we made the decision to leave the Navigators, then we let them, we were telling that they knew about it and they offered to become our sponsoring church. Well, they're not really a sponsor. They don't, it's not like they're
Programs to
sending
go
us
through.
out, but there are endorsing. They're more like an endorsing agent, like chaplains have. And so they also give credibility in the sense that somebody is overseeing what we're doing, although they don't tell us what to do. But we are still connected with them, and they are the ones who, uh, through whom, that, it can be tax deductible, because it's like they have hired us to be their missionaries, and they, in their graciousness, don't take any money off the top. So they just do it as a gift to us. But we those so mostly people switched over, but those people were already giving, and so they already
The
knew
people
us.
that were
So
giving.
they either said, I think maybe we lost one, but we added a couple others that said, "Oh, I never really liked the Navigator." Whatever. So you went. It didn't really matter. We just, because we had to call every person, all the people that were giving. Primarily, we have um, been supported only by individuals, although Denton Bible Church, that we were a part of as it was getting started many years ago, uh, gave have given to us for years. But and Bethel was doing it there for a while. They have too. But primarily it's been individuals. So there were quite a few, but they switched. They understood, and we were not going to change what we were doing. We were just changing the fact that we were no longer under the organization of the Navigators. So I don't know if that helps, but that's the issue with the raising of the money and um, being legitimate. Then you need an organization of some sort, to because not just because of whether it's tax deductible or not, but because it does give some credibility and some sense of some oversight, that you need somebody that you're
Yes,
accountable to.
yes, and I have two questions then. Um, and again, if anybody has specific mentoring questions, please ask in the chat, and I'll work it in there. But my specific question is, so okay, so I heard you say that through the Navigators for 10 years after the military, that's where you worked part time and then full time, and
Hmm.
did the work to share your vision with people who, and many people responded and they became partners with you by giving. And
Hmm.
then after 10 years, you ended up uh, switching through a church that then was able to be that, what the Navigators was, I guess, in a case.
Yeah, right,
So
basically.
yes, so I remember you saying that before to me, and and like I said, I'm thinking about moving to the States, and then eventually, I would really love to be, to do this full time in some way, or I just want to be used by God. But I just feel like this is something I'm passionate. I just tend to do. So that I thought, well, maybe I could be like Carol. But anyway, so I've looked into the Navigators and other organizations like the Navigators. I've looked at the requirements and of being on their staff and everything, and so what I have found is, unfortunately for me, is that if you're married and and you want to come on to an organization like that, if you're married, you have to, both persons need to be a part of the team, and to share statement of faith, and basically, and I can't do it right now through one of those organizations right now. I can't. So, which is pretty sad to see that's all there. Even if the husband is supportive, it doesn't. You both together are doing this, and that's what they want to see and know. So that's not the case for me right now. So I can't do it that way. But yet I can continue to find a local church, serve, in any area that they would like I've been doing. Try to fill holes, see where I can be used in a way that is where I'm growing and their needs are met and people are being served. So I'm doing all those things. And then on the side, whether with the church or without the church, I'm finding people to invest in one on one or in groups, kind of like what you have been
Hmm.
doing. So I'm doing all these things. But what I want to know is when I move back to the States, so I'm thinking in my mind, like, what should I be doing now? Other than obviously looking for a great church that I can be a part of and serve in an area where we're a good fit and I'm being used. So I know obviously I need to do that. But also what's been in my mind is wondering, do I need to go to seminary school and get some kind of Bible degree that will help me to show to someone else who doesn't know me, that I have a basic understanding? Because what I've noticed is if I go to a military church, and as you know, going to lots of military churches and being a part of them, they always have need for volunteers. Always something that you can
Right.
do. So they'll not, I don't want to say they'll take anybody, but if you're willing, there's a place
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so, but when you join a civilian church, though, it seems like, or at least the ones that I've attended, it takes a while for them to get to know you. They want to know, who are you,
Right.
which is good to know, actually. It takes time. And as a military person, maybe I don't have years to devote, to so that you can know that I'm a faithful person, like I rightly handle the word of God, all these things. So it's kind of like they have to take a chance on you after watching you for a little while. But at some point, they're going to have to, bend a little and invite you in to leadership opportunities after you show up repeatedly and show who you are. But do you have any specific advice for me and persons like me who maybe their spouse is supportive, but they want to know, what is the next thing that I should be doing?
Well,
Maybe.
well, I guess I see it as two different issues: the money and the mentoring ministry opportunities. So, and I think we might have talked about this before. I mean, in reality, it's not your responsibility to support your family. So, um,
Or you
it's
mean
hard for me.
making money to support the family is different? That's what you're saying.
And I'm
Um,
saying, yeah, but your opportunity, you may have opportunities to use what God has called you to do, and that might lead to you earning money. But see, but if you're trying to do the money thing at the same time, it's going to be hard to. It's hard. It seems like two separate issues there, and they're not. It's it needs to come out. If you're going to earn money and be supported somehow through your ministry, you need to have the ministry happening first and not be
okay.
thinking about how is this going to end up with some money. So I think that if you can trust God to provide for your family the way that He chooses through the head of your home, whatever that looks like, if you're living on retirement money, then you're living on retirement money or something.
Okay.
So
All right.
I know you have a
I
challenging I know you have a challenging situation, but I'm just saying that I can't really advise you how to do this so that you get money. I can advise you on developing your mentoring ministry, and that could lead to it at some point. I have no idea. And so, and
okay,
having
that
to do with the seminary, so let me answer that part. When we I think that would be a good thing because and not so. I mean, it serves a couple of benefits. When we left the navigators did not encourage people. In fact, you had to get special at that time. You had to get special approval to be able to. get any seminary classes. Anyway, so when we left the Navigators, then we had the issue of, is anybody going to believe who Lee is? You know, he'd been doing ministry for 10 years, whatever, and we weren't sure what was going to happen there for a while, whether we were going to, he might have to try to get a job as an associate pastor, or we weren't sure. It was a rather significant time in our lives there. We weren't sure what was going to happen. But one thing we did want to do was to get some training, some Bible training. And so we started doing it at a distance learning before there was the internet. We did through Tyndale Seminary, which is actually here in Fort Worth, and started taking classes together. But obviously that wasn't necessary, but that they're together. You could do that. And one of the reasons and the real benefit of doing it is it clarified a lot of understanding of the Bible. I mean, we had been Christians for quite a while. We'd been actually teaching things, but this helped us to know. And I don't know that I taught wrong things before, but I understood a lot of issues better and how to handle the Bible better. And so it gave so much more confidence. In the end, Lee got his degree, but we felt like that would be important. And it took a really long time. He had an extended degree plan. They changed their degree plan. I was under a couple of different degree plans. It took so long, but he has a degree, and it was partly so that he could, so far that's not ever been necessary. But if he had needed to, then he could say he had a master's degree and then in biblical studies, and that way that would give credibility if it had turned out that we needed to do the associate pastor route or something like that. I took almost enough, but towards the end I ran out of time, and then I decided I didn't need those last couple of classes. I wasn't of what they particularly were, but what I took, which was quite a few of them, all the systematic theology classes and all that, it's just was wonderful. I mean, I really enjoyed it, because having been a Christian, and that would be true of you too, is having the more familiarity that you have, the more you understand what they're talking about. Because if you were just straight out of college and just thought you'd go to seminary and whatever, there's a lot of things that to learn that you wouldn't necessarily get the benefit of. I think that's probably true of a lot of different disciplines, so to speak. Like when Kenny was going to get his MBA, he couldn't get an MBA until he had worked in finance, until he had worked for a couple of years, and then he could go to school. They wanted him to know what they were talking about. And so it's kind of a similar thing. And so you will benefit. So I would encourage you, because not only does it give credibility, but it gives you a lot more confidence in knowing what you're teaching, because we don't want to teach wrong things, obviously. And so I think that's a worthwhile. And these days, it's so much easier to do it online. And you're experienced with distance learning and stuff like that. So I think that would be helpful to you, whatever you're also doing at the same time. Not like you're necessarily going full time, just as a part of what you're doing, to be taking classes and learning. I think you would really benefit. And I think that's the right thing, is just to become part of a church. You could benefit. I mean, you would help a chapel, but I mean, Fort Hood is going to have big chapels. They're going to be fine. But if there's a church there that you can be a part of and learn about, you would be effective in women's ministry. And women's ministry is, there's a lot of stuff that can happen in women's ministry, right? You can have, it's got to have retreats, you got to have parties, you got to do a lot of stuff that's not mentoring. But in the midst of all that, then you find the women who want to grow, and then you invest in them. But the other people are all benefiting, you know, to the degree that they participate also. But you then are developing those skills, but it's just going to, and you may not end up staying at Fort Hood for the, but the experience that you would get would be important. And so rather than look too far, and so also I would suggest to not look too far ahead. Right now, you have, in fact, even right now, for the next few months, you're still where you are. Invest in the people that you have right now, and because you can't anticipate the people from the future. When you get to Fort Hood or wherever, then function there, and because you won't have retired. So don't try to live too far into the future, because you don't really know um, what things will be like or exactly where you're going to be. You just need to be benefiting from where you are right now and using and interacting with people at the, one of the things like towards the end that we were in El Paso is when we met Corey and Jenna. I loved that you met all my people. Anyway, and Jenna is in um, she's the one that's in California, and her husband's a recruiter. And so they have only been married 7 years. We were there, but we just met them right at the end, really. And then we moved, and then they left and went to Fort Stewart. So it was a short time, but it was important because we've had an ongoing relationship that has been helpful to them, I think. And so what I mean is don't move, don't start living somewhere else right now. You're still where you are. And you don't know what God might do with somebody that you're going to meet here whenever you can get out of your house.
Yes, that's true. I mean, you're certainly saying the things that I would probably tell somebody else. Like, okay, we don't know what the future will hold. We don't even know. So, what do we have right now? So, right now, yes, I am seeing the people that are around me and investing in them right here, right now, while I can. But I'm also looking ahead. But thank you for the reminder that to trust in God. If it, not that I am concerned about the money, but it is, I mean, I would be lying if I said there wasn't something that was in my mind because of what's ahead, the retirement, and like you said, it's not my, um, you know, I I know that I'm not typically the provider for the family. That was Daniel's role all these years that we've been married thus far, the 13 years. And so, but just in talking to other people about this season that we're facing, I just wanted to gain all the information that I can to try and do this the best that I can. So, but I will keep that in mind to just continue to trust in God as I have been all this time, because I don't know what the future will hold. So
Yeah.
thank you for that reminder. And so I want to, so I know this period of time we've been talking about me and like what, not just me, but people, maybe people like me who want to know how can I move forward into doing my own ministry, like a ministry, get bigger with the ministry. So that's helpful for me to continue right here where I am right now, seeing the people that's around me, investing in them. Um, and possibly looking at going to seminary. I do have a question about that though. as I'm looking around at all the different schools that were recommended to me for seminary, it really boils. I mean, I don't know if you'll have an opinion on this, and I imagine that
Oh,
depending who I
Sejana, you
ask,
know I've got an opinion. You know
I
I'm
know,
going to
I
have an
know.
opinion.
But I don't want to. I'm not asking what school should I go to. Not that question, but just kind of like I've noticed that there are many colleges that offer what I think I may need. You know, they're colleges, they're like businesses sometimes. It's kind of like, hey, come to my school, right? I get it. But I've, but it's kind of like for me anyway. I know you've already done that, but for me, looking at it, it's just like it's kind of like I gotta find a school that believes what I believe now. Like but that to me seems a little weird because aren't I going to school so that they can teach me, like how to learn more about the truth of the Bible? But in fact, you can look, there are many ways that people have looked, many views and ways that people have looked at the Bible. So it's kind of like you got to find a school that matches what you believe, and that's just weird. And so that's kind of made me pause a little bit. Like, so now I'm looking at schools that either other people recommend or people that are Bible teachers that I like, maybe what schools do they go to, but I don't know if that just seems weird. Do you have any thoughts on that? Uh, I mean, that might be
Well,
a
it's not,
conversation for another time, but it's just
yeah, I
kind of.
think the conversation for another time. Um, I would say it has to do, and I didn't even know this word before I took those classes about the hermeneutics until I took a hermeneutics class. And it's like, oh, hermeneutics. That's a key thing, but that is the issue. It has to do with how we understand the Bible. And different colleges, different seminaries vary somewhat in their hermeneutics. And so you may not know, it's not like it's the same thing you believe, but it's the same way that you read the Bible. If you read the
Mhm.
Bible in a way that's um, where somebody else has telling you what this means all the time, then that's one hermeneutic where a higher person in authority is saying, oh, you think it says this, but in reality, the church says it says this. Then that's a hermeneutic there. If your hermeneutic is that you read the Bible for what it says, everything, future, past, then that's a different hermeneutic. But see, that doesn't mean that it's telling you everything what you believe. It's just telling you how you approach the Bible. So you do, uh, I mean, it is helpful to go to a school in which you agree with their basic idea of the hermeneutic, how they read the Bible.
Yes,
But yeah,
that's
so we can talk about it in a more, I do have opinions, of course,
no, that the yeah,
but
that's
that's a
really helpful. I, I'm glad that you clarified what I was saying. I just the way they read the Bible, the way they interpret the Bible,
right.
their view on what the Bible is saying. Yes, that's what I meant. Okay, so I just gotta say that. So Um, s- one of the reasons why we still continue to meet, because I got to tell you, after 11 years of meeting weekly, sometimes I remember when we were first meeting, when I was in El Paso, and I
Mhm.
remember, and that we were only, my husband and I were married not that long, maybe less than 2 years or something like that, and I remember um talking to you. I was talking to you about lots of things. We wouldn't just go over the material that we were going through, which went through
Right.
the Bible, answering questions in the Bible, which I really love because the materials, like open up your Bible, go here, what does it say, like what's the answer to this question. It's like, it wasn't like, what do you think about this, what's your feelings, it was like, what does the Bible say about this, go there. And I just love that. But that also applied to real life questions that I had, which I asked you about, and then you would still go to the Bible and see what does it say. And so I really, I just love that. And so I remember, having a question about, like some, maybe my exes, people in other relationships. Maybe I still contacted them or could have contact with them over Facebook or something like that. And then I remember you warning me about that. And you were saying, why are you, you know, you're just warning me, like, what's the purpose in you still maintaining, like, why do you have that there, and I was just remembering being upset and like just angry with you, just like, what, if you don't know what you're talking about, lady, like, it's not even, I'm not doing anything, it's just internet, anyway. Anyway, that was also in the beginning of our marriage. But man, your wisdom and having lived life, and you can see where this could be headed. Not saying that I'm there now, but you're just like, no. And I didn't have anybody in my life, kind of like, first of all, nobody was in my life that knew these things. And then second of all, like, it just wasn't, you were supporting what you were saying by what God was saying about how to live a Christian life, how to live a godly life, how to be an honorable wife and mother, which I didn't have those role models. And I
Right.
so I kept meeting with you, because even though sometimes it was frustrating and annoying, because I don't want to be told what not to do, and I don't want to be advised on not doing what I wanted to do. But uh, I kept meeting with you because I knew that you lived a life that I wanted to live. It seemed successful. You seemed like you knew you knew the Bible. I wanted to know the Bible. You had a happy, what looked like to me, happy marriage. I met your husband, Lee. I saw the way you guys interacted with each other. I was newly married. I wanted that in our relationship. So I was like, well, nobody in my family's been married this long or are married. Like, I gotta, listen to you, even if it's hard for me to hear, or to just thinking it's old fashioned news, like, just like, I can't ignore this here, and I want it to be wise. And so here we are. And I'm so grateful that I didn't, in my foolishness, dismiss the time that you have given me over all these years through meeting faithfully every week. Sometimes I wouldn't have my homework done, and you would say, you'd say something like, all right, well, we talk about a couple of things, and then I mean, that's it, because you need to do your homework, and then we'll be able to talk through it. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I need to do my homework, so I just, your uh I don't know what the word is, but just your, just not letting me off the hook like that. I don't know if that's because you're mom already. I don't know, but I just, like, so, as a mentor of what I heard yesterday, that as everyone's sharing, as a mentor of persons who have many women who were newly married or newly Christian, or just hadn't considered being in a one-on-one relationship where you would actually sit down with someone, share life, and share the God, together, and grow over a period of time. Like, that's what you introduced to many women. Is is there? It's like Sherry has a question. Um, she said, "Was there a time in your journey that you experienced in your life where you questioned if this was the right path for you? And if so, how did you move beyond that to keep pushing forward to where you are now?" That's, well, I have a thought on that, but that's what she said. She wanted to know if
You
you
can
ever
answer my
question.
question.
Well, I mean, I can see. I have a thought that doesn't mean it's right, but I'm curious to know if my thought thinking is right. But she's like, did you ever question, I guess, going this route of being known as mentors? I suppose is that what you tell people when you introduce yourself and they say, "What do you do?" I guess do you say what do you say first of all?
Okay, well, there are several questions here. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that was a
well,
lot. Good.
um, it depends on who it is. But Lee
Mhm.
will say sometimes describes it as being like a personal trainer for in spiritual areas,
Oh,
depending on who
okay.
he's talking to. So,
Hmm.
um, so when we were doing military ministry, then obviously that's what we said. We were missionaries to the military. So uh,
Mm.
typically nobody asks me, I say I do Bible studies and meet with people. That's what they say. So I don't have
Okay.
to call myself something. He tends to because men need to call, they need to be who they are. But that's how he describes it a lot of time. If it's depending on who it is, he'll describe it as being a personal trainer in spiritual for their spiritual life, and so people can kind of understand to some extent what that is. Um,
Mm.
okay, was I ever discouraged? I was. Uh, the only thing that was discouraging was some of the issues because, like I said, we kept having to move. Stuff would happen, and so I didn't ever question what God's calling on me or on us. We didn't ever question that. It was just there was a time there, maybe when we left El Paso and moved back to the Springs for the second time and stuff. And it was just like we felt like I felt like I was in a river because sometimes things were happening a lot, and we'd talk about, oh, it feels like we're just in this river and God is working. But I kept like we were always getting pushed over to the side. We'd be doing this, and then this weird chaplain comes in, kicks us off post. Then we do this and this, and then they take all of our single soldiers out of Fort Bliss, the third Cav people. We had a whole big singles ministry. Whole third Cav moves to Colorado Springs. Of course, that's where we moved later and reconnected with them, but we didn't know that was going to happen. So that happened. And so stuff kept being in it, and so there was a time was like, we just really want to be a part of this, and the Lord is just maybe you know we weren't. It wasn't like we didn't think we were in the right thing. I just was a little frustrated. I just kept feeling like we were over to this. That was my feeling. I just kept pushed over to the side of the river, stuck in the bushes there or something because these weird things happening. But what I realized, and it's almost, I mean, I remember the moment when I realized it's like, no, he's not. That was not the issue. It was like the Lord was testing to see if we would get discouraged and quit. Where these
Mm.
difficulties to discourage us, but they weren't never discouraged on what we were doing, only discouraged um, that we couldn't do as much as we kept getting stuck over on weird things happen on things would be going good and then they wouldn't be unusual
Mm.
circumstances. So uh, and so that was exciting. It was like, oh no, I never thought about it. It was never discouraging. So once I realized that's what was happening, then when we kept having more strange things, we had to leave. We kept having to leave places. Then I never I realized that's not the issue, and this is not making us stop. You know, Air Force doesn't like civilians in Colorado for a while. Okay, fine, we'll just go somewhere else. And um, because I knew that it was a redirection, it wasn't, and that's really what it was. It wasn't like we were knocked over the side of the river. It was much more that he was just redirecting us on this other little direction off the river that we didn't know about. So
Sherry has another question. What are some of the benefits and challenges that you have encountered living a mentoring lifestyle, such as what the one that you guys are on. Um, you just talked about how feeling this could, at first you was feeling a little discouraged, but then your perspective changed in the way you looked at the situations that would happen. So,
Yeah.
but can you think of any other, um, I don't benefits and challenges?
Well, the benefits are the people and seeing God work in other people's lives. And one of the reasons that we like to do Bible study with people is because we're not trying to change people. We're trying to allow God access to their lives so he can
Hmm.
change them. Because when you're doing Bible study with somebody, then and hopefully if they're doing preparation beforehand, so they're spending time in the word and they're doing it more, then they're being much more open to what he's doing in their spirit, and the Holy Spirit can have more access to their lives, and they are learning things I would have no way. I have no way to know somebody's heart. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to tell them, but God can change them. And but as a result, then I get to watch that over a period, years, and watch changes. See, now instead of arguing with me about your lifestyle, you're arguing with me about which scripture is legitimate. So we've progressed.
Yeah, that,
But
yeah,
that's a better
that's
argument
true.
to have. That's a better argument to have. Let's talk about what it means. Let's go back to the standard that we both are living under, and not that. So, so that's a benefit. A challenge is when your life is connected to lots of different people, then you hurt when they hurt. And also, they may rearrange your schedules like crazy. So, you just never know.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Both of those
But,
things I can really, yeah, yeah, relate to that.
yeah,
So you hurt when they hurt. Uh,
right.
that's something also that I heard in that phone call of, with the other ladies who you have poured out into over the past several decades, actually. I think
I know.
one
A
lady
lot,
said she knew you for
yeah, a lot
35
of that.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is the you hurt when they hurt because you're really involved in their lives. You know their prayer requests, not well, if it's anything like our relationship, it's more like as we're going through the material that we have, work that we're working on or that I'm working on, and you're agreeing to meet with me to kind of go over it. Um, I also have other things that come up in my life, and I may want to share them with you. And so
Hmm.
during that time, you get to know a little bit more about how to pray for me, and what
Hmm.
I'm struggling with, and you give applicable biblical truth in those areas to for me to think about when I'm outside of our time of meeting. Um, I assume that's how it was with the other ladies. As they had things
Yeah.
go on in their life, they would
Right.
just share it with you as you went on in relationship and Bible study
Right.
together. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. That would be true. Like you heard about the um, times with Kate wanting to get married. It took her a long time to get married. We prayed for her husband and the adoption, two different adoption situations, praying for those people that wanted to have children, people going through miscarriages and lots of stuff. So, yeah, so those
Has it
things are
ever
happening. So,
has it ever have you ever had a experience that was so hard, I guess, that it made you question if you were doing the what God wanted you to do, I guess? Have you ever had any of those times that were really like
because
I
of what was going
really
on.
I don't know, or because of interaction that you had maybe with somebody that you invested in, like you poured into someone, and maybe it just broke your heart. If you ever had that happen where it questioned, if you should continue maybe on this journey.
Uh, no, I don't think so. I don't, because uh, having come to the Lord as an adult person and have life, before I knew, um, and I was just excited uh, to know about being a Christian for one thing, and then also just the opportunity to feel like God could use me. I haven't, I am sure there's times I've not been as effective in helping somebody that I would want to be, but it didn't really discourage. I mean, I can only do what I can do. And
Mm.
so I can't
Yeah.
answer everything. I can't fix everything for people. I mean, that could be difficult, but um, all, it hasn't discouraged me. And what was that? I think that is related to something I was going to mention about. Uh, oh yeah, well, just that, and I don't think I've said that. Really, one of the most it needs to be mentoring and discipling has to be an overflow of your own relationship with God. And so, one of the things that sometimes people can get too excited about, I'm not saying you, but there are people who don't spend their own time in the Word. They don't really have their own relationship with the Lord going. It's kind of like, okay, I already did that before. I already focused on that. Now I'm going to go, preach to other people or do all this other stuff. And those people actually are the ones more likely to get discouraged because they're not getting input and they're only doing output. And so pretty soon you
Yeah,
don't have any
run
more to
dry.
give, and
Mhm.
it's not and your giving out is not an overflow of your own relationship with the Lord. You're it's it's something becomes kind of separate from that. So I think that obviously my walk with the Lord, everybody's kind of has some ups and downs, but I have not had a terrible you know time in my life where I questioned God's love or questioned my salvation or anything. And I like that He loves me, who I am, and knows what's going on. And so I don't, and He knows, and so I can, uh, so I don't get as discouraged that would make me want to quit investing in people. I'm limited to who I am and what He can do through me, but that's all. I don't get discouraged. I mean, it doesn't ever make me want to stop. It's a privilege.
Mm. I think that's a great point that you brought out in that uh, it should be an overflow. Pouring out into others is an overflow of what God is doing in your own life. And being around a lot of women who I see women who just want to help people. They just want to help, kind of, and then they just give everything. And but in that they're not. What I mean is, they're not they're not taking their own time with God. In fact, I heard this talk between several pastors. It's on YouTube, and one of the questions that they asked all the pastors, like, "What do you do behind the scenes that best prepares you for your people? Like, what are you doing behind the scenes that people don't necessarily know about? That's the best thing to that is like the best thing for your people." And so, what I heard you say just now is like your own relationship with the Lord is the very best thing that you can do for any. If you want to help people, you have to spend time with God
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So how do you so like what do you like, can you share a little bit about, what that looks like for you in your life? I mean, I that might be personal, but and I know it's individual for each person, but I'm always curious to know, like, how do you spend time with God? I see you pouring out into other people. I know you meet with several people throughout the week, and all the time you may help, but how do you for yourself? How do you do that? What do you do at this season? I'm sure it's changed as, you know,
It had,
it
yeah,
just
it
changed.
had. Actually, oddly enough, I had longer time. I mean, as a new believer, than when my kids would go to school and my husband went to work, I used to spend a couple of hours with, you know, reading and memorizing a lot of stuff. Um, Now it's more spread out, but and that was a long time ago. I usually, as much as I can, have time, quiet time in the morning, first thing, and I just come in here to my office, get with my coffee, and I go through. I'm going through a reading plan. I really like the chronological thing, and then I also will sometimes then read also a small portion. Like right now, I'm going through the chronological. I'm in the Old Testament still, and so, but then I'll go read. I'm also in the New Testament, just taking a few verses at a time every day, and I have a notebook and I write down um, a scripture that stands out to me because I feel like that the Lord has something involved in that. And then I just write some, I mean, some people call it journaling. I don't exactly know that, whether that's officially. Sometimes I write a little bit, sometimes I write large. I'm not a writer like you are, so I tend to be concise. And, but I do it because, and Lee and I have been doing this for years, and that's why we have boxes of journals. I don't know what you do with them, but anyway, because it helps if you write something down. It's one thing to have a thought go through your head, and it's like, oh, wow, I'm not going to forget that. Oh, sure, you will. In about 10 minutes, you're going to forget that because something else is going to happen in your life. So, if you write it down, for one thing, you have to write in a complete sentence that makes you kind of make the thought, more cohesive. It's a coherent thought. And also, you could look at it again. Maybe the next day, you could look back. Oh, look at that. That's right. I, you know, that was something I learned. Something. It was a comfort. Some insight. Something. And so that's a part of it. As far as a more focused time, and then I also have I also pray during that time for about what I just read, but also um, needs, or I've been trying to be good about praying for, the people I'm meeting with, whether they're having trouble or not. So I'm working on that. That's the easy thing, is to not pray for people that seem to be doing fine. So it's choose to pray for everybody, and and then, just as a part of daily life, is to be interacting with the Lord during the day on situations, or praying, as if you have a particular need going on. Like, I'm praying for my sister a lot right now, and so I'm when she comes to mind, then I be praying for her. And so um, I would say that is some of the ways.
W- Do um what does prayer look like for you when you say you pray? Like, I mean, because I always have a weird thing about that for me. When I feel like I need to have a more structured or set or like a time for prayer, and that's hard for me to do. for so I agree that writing down my prayers has helped me to focus when I want to pray. Um, so that has been helpful. But what is that what you do when you say that you pray after kind of how do you do that?
No,
What does that look like?
I just, I mean, I just talk to the Lord about whatever they said. I mean, it's not very structured. Um,
I mean, like, how do you are you just talking to him out loud like now, or
no, I
do
don't talk
you
out
like
loud. I don't do it out
you don't?
loud.
Okay, so you're just in your head. It's in your head. You're
Yeah,
like okay. I know that sounds silly, but I was just curious how people actually pray. You
but
know, like
no,
when they're
no,
alone. Like how do you?
I don't do it out loud. I've not done that, but I am specifically talking to him. So I mean, it's a it's not like thoughts, just like random thinking about him. It's more intentional interacting. Um, so yeah, and so not. I mean, I don't usually have a very really long time for that, 5 or 10 minutes, maybe, depending on because I usually let's see. We have a very I know you're surprised that we have a structure in the mornings, but we do have we're pretty structured.
Oh, I'm
Anyway, so
not
I know
surprised. I know. I know you have a
anyway,
lot
it's
of
just how we
schedule, so immaculate, so
anyway,
I
it's just how
know
we
you're pretty
it is how we roll. Well, because so get up at 6 and so we eat at 7:30 and so either both of us have quiet time at the same time in that morning or he varies his a little bit more depending on some other stuff whatever he has going on and he can do it later. I don't do well having quiet times later in the day. It makes me sleepy. First thing in the morning I'm not so sleepy, and so I just do better. And also, sometimes it's harder to do later on because other things start infringing on your
mhm,
life. But
mhm,
normally, except for like this morning, normally I don't have something very first thing. And um,
mhm,
so I can do that on a consistent basis. And that's what we've always advised people is to give God the best of your time. Some people are not good in the morning and they really can spend time at night, or maybe when they have little children, they can during children's naps. Everybody knows when their best time is, and they're
mhm,
probably doing something else during that best time. And so, if you figure out your best time to be available on a regular basis and be, where you can mentally engage, then that's the time to do it. And so for me, it's always been first thing in the morning, but I know there's people that, lunch, when Lee was working in the computer world, he would do, I'm just getting a little messages here. He would um, do it at lunchtime because that was available to him in that particular lifestyle. Because anyway, so different times. But that's for me. It's always been first thing in the morning. That's my best and most available.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing that. I know I didn't tell you anything really that I was gonna ask you because I didn't really have a plan. I just knew that I wanted to talk to you and pick your brain about mentoring. So I guess I know you thought about several things that you wanted to make sure that you said and you thought through. Are there things on there that we haven't talked about yet? Because I want to make sure that we are able to kind of talk about it, especially if you took the time to think about these
I think
things.
I've tried to work in about relation. Um, well, let's see. One of the things I had made a note was that it can take time. That mentoring is a time thing. I haven't really because there are discipleship programs where you go through a book with people. I mean, we know of a couple of different ones like that, and you meet with people, and then they they finish that, and then they are supposed to go do somebody else, and this person moves on, and it does multiply, and a lot of people go through the material. Our particular philosophy has not been that way because we're much more relationship oriented, like I said, and that takes time, right? I mean, look at all the time that you and I have spent together. And so, and that's because people don't change and learn quickly. And so it
Mm.
takes us time to make these. And if you just, um, so I guess as a mentor, it allows you to just say, okay, just going to work with this person, and and give them some time to learn and grow, as opposed to having too high of expectations right away, or and be irritated at them. Sometimes people do that, but more likely you just move on to somebody else instead of really investing. I guess I guess that's what it is. It's more investing a lot more instead of just spending time with different people. So that's one of the things, because I know that that's just our. And one time I heard at a navigator conference one time, ever so many years ago, someone talked about, and he used out of Second Timothy, about Timothy spending time with Paul and stuff. And he made a comment about he thought it took 10 years to spend time with somebody to disciple him, which was not normal navigator philosophy. And that stuck in my head because it's like, wow, that's a long time to spend with people, but it helps you to know that it does take time. And
Mm.
so you've seen that. You've been meeting with Joy for a long time, and so it, it's a time thing. It's getting acquainted, getting comfortable with each other, and also allowing a person to be in the Word long enough for God to make some changes and things. So that was one thing.
Yeah,
I
I
think
wanted to say something about that. I never heard anyone actually say that. So that is good to hear you say that it does take time, because I guess I'm used to going to PWC meetings, for example. You're involved in a Bible study. Bible studies now like 6 weeks long, like 12 weeks. Now it's 11 weeks. Now it's 6 weeks long. You like rush through these studies, and then it's the next week is another one. And I don't know how much you can get from that really, as far as life change. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
I'm about
Um,
to lose battery on my phone
yeah,
now because it's going for a long time. And so, but
yeah,
my charger's in the other room for the phone. So I'm about to, we might be finished
okay,
because I'm about
yeah,
to go.
yeah. I
Unless,
just had to get my plug in. Yes. Um,
unless you give me a few minutes to go get the charger and charge it.
if you have time, I would love to talk more. I just plugged mine in because it's right here. That's what I was doing when you couldn't see me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But-
I'll run get it.
Okay.
I'll be right.
Okay. So we're here talking with Carole. This is a very long video, but so informative for me. And hopefully for you. I'll probably splice it up into pieces, maybe, and put it on my blog, sejanashines.com. But really, I hope that you're getting something from our time together. And if you have any specific questions, please just type them in there and I'll work them in like I did with Sherry's questions. Um, basically this video is geared towards those who either want to be mentored, they want to grow more in their relationship with God, and they kind of asking about that, or maybe you are a mentor or you want to be a mentor to someone else. We talked a little bit about what's required for that, and then I kind of asked questions about if you're already mentoring people, what's the next step that you would advise? And Carole kind of gave me some specific advice, especially regarding our upcoming move and my husband's deployment. So that's where we are right now. But we're continuing to kind of go over last thoughts that Carole has as she thought about what to share for our talk today on mentoring. And, it is a bit long, but I appreciate any advice and juice that I can get from Carol's many, many, many years of experience and investment in many ladies' lives. And I know this to be true because I've seen it with my own eyes at your Zoom birthday party. Just hearing the ladies talk about the impact that you've had in their lives. And, sometimes we don't even know what the actions that we're doing, like what we don't really know, maybe the impact that we can have on another person. But in this case, you were able to hear and even see from your own interactions with them over periods of time, you can see the growth. So anyway, I was just feeling in your absence. It seems like you're plugged in now.
I
Um,
am, but I'm gonna have to
yes.
hold the phone in order to make this happen. But
Oh,
I'll
okay.
go careful because
Okay.
it won't I stand and it won't let me turn it sideways. I don't know why that is. But anyway, somehow this app it tells me turn your device around. Okay, whatever. So
Okay.
I will I'm gonna try real hard.
And later, if you do see the video later, you'll see that your video, at least from what I see, becomes pixelated or clear, but sound has been great this whole time. So just letting you
uh,
know that it's not like that the whole time, but it is going in and out as far as video. But I'm so thankful that the sound is fine and that whoever's tuning in can hear, at least hear the things that you're sharing, which I really do appreciate.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell. And I don't know how to make that how that would
That's
be
fine.
better. But
Yeah.
it probably doesn't really matter on the thing. Um, um, so I think that, and I guess the only, but the other thing I had written down, which was one of the first things I thought about, is the value of the individual. Kind of implied it with the about not
Oh,
prejudging people, but also um, every person has value. And so sometimes when people are getting, they really have a heart, oh, I wish I could mentor somebody. Well, if they could mentor one person, that's important. And so sometimes people get kind of caught up with numbers. Oh, look at that. There's, so and so, they're meeting with all these different people. Well, that's, you know, that's maybe not what God has for you right at this point in time. And so the thing is to not discredit people because you don't feel like you have enough. Every person is of value. And so if in a particular season of life you're meeting with one person, that person is of value in and of themselves, not to mention the fact that they themselves, that person might, you know, have make a difference in many people's lives afterwards. But that has helped us a lot in just and that's what we were taught. I mean, we didn't. That's not our particular thing. We heard that a lot at the beginning, and that really stuck with us because um, every person has value, and so even if they're even if they're not as cooperative, even if when you go to their house, um, there's strange things going on there. But anyway, unusual situations I've been in. But you just that person has value if they're faithful, available, teachable. You just go with them. And because you don't know, and they are a value in and of themselves. They may never witness to another person. They may never mentor another person, but that person has value. So that's very helpful in not being discouraged. And it's also encouraging because
the sense that there's, this is what the Lord has for you at this point in time. So, but we're always, one of my verses that I like, maybe this will be a good ending thing. It's not exactly a mentoring verse, but it's connected to that, is 2 Corinthians 4:5. For what we preach is not ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, with ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. And I like that because it keeps things in perspective, that I'm his servant. And so, but I'm serving other people. And so whether it's mentoring or something else, um, then it helps me to look to him for approval, and as opposed to the person I'm serving. And it also helps me to not be discouraged if the person I'm wanting to serve or mentor or whatever doesn't respond. Then I'm still his servant. I mean, not that person's servant. I'd be willing to serve, but they're not interested. Um, then that's not what he has for me to do. So I check with them again. So it keeps my priorities right. So I like that scripture.
Yeah, I've heard you say basically, you're putting kind of the pressure on God, not on yourself or even the other person. Just kind of
Right.
like you and God being obedient, you're being obedient to what you feel like God is calling you, like has for you to do, and then you do it faithfully, and then what happens from it is that's God, not
Right.
as long as you're faithful in doing the things that He has for
Right.
you to do, which is to be there. I know one thing I noticed, you're always very punctual. Like you would call right at the time, and so like you are very faithful. Like I don't get emails or things talking about I got this going on and so I can't make it. You always uh let me know in advance, if something happened and you can't meet, which is rare, but you try to let me know in advance about things like that, and then you always call to initiate our meetings like right at the time, and you're mindful of the time and you want to make the most of the time. Like if conversations talk about other things, you bring it back to okay, now we're gonna get back to um, let's get some spiritual content in here. And our relationship has changed over the years, but I remember, um,
Right.
it's not like, all right, now's the time. It's more like just making sure to make the most of the time. And so
Right.
it's, um, I was wondering, okay, so as we think about ending this time, I wanted to ask you a question for each group that I feel like would probably look at this. Is like how so if you are a person who maybe wants to be mentored, what would you say to that person that is desiring to have a deeper relationship with God? Well, then they say to
Well,
you, what can I do? I guess.
if,
What
if
what would
they
you
would, if
suggest?
they want to be mentored, is to look
Or
around
I
them.
guess hold on, wait a minute. If
What?
they know they want to be mentored, they kind of already got an idea. I mean, I'm just like,
Okay.
how do you even know that a person, like they don't even know. They don't even know to ask you whatever. And so
Oh,
how do you
right.
see those people, I guess, and like encourage, like how do you bring it up, I guess. I think that's what I'm asking. For the person who
Who
you
wants
see
to
them,
mentor?
how do you find the people, I suppose?
Yeah. Well, you just look around and see who it is that seems to have spiritual interest. That's
And that
like is asking questions, or um, if it's in a larger Bible study group, the one that's seems to be taking it seriously and cares, and whether they're asking questions, or they could be being quiet, but they seem, particularly interested. So
Mhm.
because of the fact, like I had said, nobody ever asked me, then, and it never occurred to me that I could ask, then I don't mind asking and have them not be interested. Actually, I mean, that hasn't
Okay, you don't mind being the
happened
one to
much,
take initiative and to approach
but
them.
I don't have any problem taking the initiative to say, and it could be, you could start out with just getting together uh, for coffee, or something, go to lunch or something, and then as a part of that, ask them, tell them that, I sometimes I do Bible study with people, and if you would be interested in meeting on a regular basis, um, then I would love to get together with you. Yeah, and so sometimes people won't, sometimes they don't. I did have that happen. Anyway, because somebody recommended somebody to me one time, and I got together with her, and she was like, "This looks like work."
Okay, so
Yeah,
she didn't
yeah.
she didn't fit that available or teachable
She
criteria.
she was no, she was not.
So
Yeah, but we had a good visit over coffee, but she is really not. Yeah, and so it doesn't hurt if you have that perspective that you're just seeing who God. I mean, obviously you can't meet with people you haven't met, so you need to. It's going to be people in your um, that you come across in whatever mode, whether it's PWC or neighbor, somebody that responds, then you can just ask them if they would like to do that. And um, and like in your case, or if somebody has had a mentor themselves, they can say, somebody, used to meet with me, and that's how I learned. And, so I would be interested in doing that with you too, so you can do it as a this something that was of benefit, but it doesn't have to be, because that didn't happen to me. So I just offer, just like I did with you, and it was up anyway. So, and then you can see whether they're faithful, available, and teachable after you start meeting with
mm, that okay, yeah. Um,
that.
and
Looking for
I
the
know
fat
you've been
people.
doing this. Yeah, the fat people. Yeah, and you've been doing this way longer than I have, but I do remember how I found my first mentee, and I don't even know if is that how you refer to people? you know, I don't know why I use those words. But the first person that said yes, the first person I asked, I was praying about, can I invest in
Mhm.
someone like Carol invests in me? I was really praying about that for a while, looking for someone like in my mind. I didn't tell anybody. I was just in my mind, kind of like,
Right.
is there somebody that I can pour into like you poured into me? And then this conversation happened, just it just happened, and I was like, look, like this, that's the one.
Yeah.
And anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yes,
That's about it.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so uh that's kind of like that. So you just spoke to the person who maybe wants to start, spending time being intentional with sharing what they know about the Bible and Jesus and God to someone else. So you said you just ask someone. So so how about the person who has already mentored people and spent time with people and invested in people's relationships, and they want to go to the next step or next level? Is there any words that you would have in closing, just about what you would your advice would be in that area, or
I
to
guess I'm
someone
not
that's
sure
more
what the next.
experienced?
I'm not sure what the next level is.
Yeah, that was, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of thinking, I guess that'd be hard to. Okay, all right, yeah. I guess that's kind of like me, and I don't even know why because that sounds weird saying next level. What I mean is, I guess it's just I'm just looking ahead at what might be next for me. So that maybe that's just like a me question, but it's like for me, it's more like how can I be more available to more people? That's really what it is. I guess in a way is how what I'm thinking about. Um, just I feel like I do spend time, intentional time with separate people. It's all over my schedule throughout the week, and that's fine. But I feel I've been thinking about how can do more or impact more, reach more, because really it's not numbers that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking particularly, might be just me, I'm thinking about the unreached people who want to grow in their relationship, but they don't really know what exactly. They're somehow disconnected in some way, and I'm thinking about that in various ways in today's world, meaning I'm thinking about the internet, I'm thinking about missions overseas, and that's in me. And so when I say next level, I just meant like how can I get there to that place? That's what I mean, and that to me is what I refer to as next level, because I'm not there yet and I want to be there in that place doing, helping in those areas. That's what I meant. That obviously can be taken the wrong way, as in like that I just, for
Yeah.
me, I feel the call to do more. And I just, if you met a
Well,
woman, like how do you, within the relationships that you're already meeting with several women, their lives and where they're at. And if you sense in them, like that one lady, Beth, she mentioned something about how you attended her church, and you said she's not using, like she's not, I don't know what she meant by that, but she kind of said, you're not using the gifts that God has given you. This is not the right fit for you. Like that. How do you encourage women that you meet with to kind of step out more? You sense that they sense it maybe, but they don't recognize, how do you do that?
um, well, in their case, they were as a couple, it was an issue. And because we knew, um, so it was because we knew what they had been involved with before and then what they were doing at that particular church. So in conversation,
Okay.
we encouraged them. Uh,
Okay.
well, we just agreed, sort of, but I think it helped them to know that we agreed with what they were sort of
They were already
sensing,
thinking.
was that
Okay.
they, them as a couple. Well, the Lord has different plans for each person. And um, so I think that that what we need to do uh, in discipling somebody, I really like discipling it. We switched it to mentoring is sort of current, but discipling, I still think of it that way, is to help the person become what God wants them to be doing, helps them. And so that's different for every person. And um, so for one thing, for each person, we need to not be looking at what other people are doing, but also
Mhm.
we don't want to be pushing somebody that we're meeting with into doing something that we think they should be doing any more than you would your child. It's kind of like raising children in that you want them to be the best that and what God has gifted them to be, and whatever, if you want them to be developing their talents and stuff. So, but it's not helpful to try to push your children. Well, it's also not helpful to try to push someone who's your mentee or disciple to do something beyond. If you see that they have a heart for something, then that's an opportunity to encourage them how they might can move towards that. And that's like what, I know some of what your heart is, and so that's why I encourage you in the to do some of the seminary training to get you more confident and qualified, because we don't want to get ahead of what God might have for us by jumping out and trying to do something when we're not quite ready for it. If he has a plan for someone to have some kind of extended large ministry, then he works that out. And so it's just the daily thing. There's people, heard of people, it's like, oh, I want to go be a missionary in whatever, Africa or something. And oh, I just really want to go do that. Well, what are you doing today? Well, I go to church and stuff, but I want to go be a missionary in Africa. If you go to Africa, you're not even going to know what to do. You got to have the ministry where you are and let it grow and be developing it, which is what you're doing, speaking to you personally. Then you are doing that. And so doing what you're doing is the best preparation for whatever he has for you in the future, and developing that, and not discounting the people that you're involved with at the moment. We can't reach every person. There's only a limited number of people we can have contact with and have an in-depth discipling relationship. But they can reach, and so it can be multiplied. You're part of my multiplication, right? I spend time with you, but you are doing it with other people, and others that you saw last night, they are involved with other people, but lots of different areas. Some of them are doing, I know of, that are, involved with youth in their church, or they're doing something else, and they're doing their own one-on-one, or a lot of different situations, but they can be part of the multiplying. The multiplying is more effective than trying to do too much ourselves. So it's just, but he does give, some people have extended ministries, but sometimes all they are doing is preaching. Billy Graham, amongst others, preached to many, many thousands of people. Well, that was good. He served what God had for him. But of those many, many thousands of people, they all needed somebody to follow up with them, or they stayed little baby Christians. And so, and they, didn't multiply out. So there's value in investing in one, or if you're called to be a Billy Graham, then you do that. But so there's you kind of have to see what he has for you as an individual, and then just take those steps that go along with that. Because it says in Ephesians 2:10 about us having, that there's good works he has planned for us. We're God's workmanship in Christ Jesus. And so he has the works he has for us, he has planned. So he has works planned for you. You don't have to worry about making that happen. You just worry about what you're supposed to do. That's true for me. We're all doing that. We moved here to Fort Worth. We'd like to be involved at the church here that we're at Meadow Ridge, and we're looking forward to doing that. But we're doing things a little at a time, and whatever we can be a part of, then that's why he brought us here. We can't say, oh, we're going to go do this wonderful thing. Well, we don't know. what wonderful thing. We just need to do what we have opportunity and at this point in time and see why it is that he wanted us to move here. So
That's I I I feel like over the 11 years that we've been talking, some themes have come up over and over again. One of them was I remember you telling me as my kids were 1 year old, well, when Daniel deployed, one was 15 months, another one was um, well, they were a year apart. So 6 months and 15, 16, 15 months. So I I remember you saying to me that you don't have to do everything now, you can do it, you can do these things later. You don't have to do right now. You have your children and they're little, and they need you. And one day they're gonna grow up and then they won't need you as much. But for right now, you don't have to do everything right now. I remember you saying that to me over and over again as I tried to do various things and got my priorities out of order many times. And so, what I hear you saying now, you didn't specifically say this, but what I heard is, um, don't worry so much about the future. Just continue to do what you're doing right now, where you are right now. And I know, and that is what I'm doing, but it's kind of like, but if I knew the future, then I could work towards that. It's like, God, what do you want? What's the plan? It would be so great, these things. And I know he's working things out, but it's just kind of trusting that, okay, he's working things out. You just got to kind of, what are you doing with what I gave you right here, right now? And so I have to keep saying that in my mind and look at the people
right,
that are right here in my home right now, which this
right,
quarantine season has given me even more of an opportunity to focus on right here, right now, the people right here, right now, focus on these people, which are
right,
my two children and husband. And this season for me, I know it's different for each person, and that's fine. But for me, it has cut off all of the outside obligations that I was serving in faithfully because I felt like I needed to serve in these areas. But when they got cut off, and now here's my children and husband, I it was like, thank you, Lord, for this break, which, when you serve, for me, it's kind of like you're stuck. Not that I don't want to serve, but it's kind of like you are doing this until the end. So it's like it's ongoing and there's no break. It's just kind of like you will serve. Not that that's kind of like how I was just doing it because that's what I committed to do. And I wanted to finish it and I wanted to do it well. But I realized once everything was gone that, wow, that was a lot of time that it took on my life. And like, I didn't realize how much time that I was pouring into these things. And so um, I don't have to make plans for the future. I just need to continue to do the things that I'm doing right now and investing in the people that I'm already meeting with right now. But I tend my mind, it just keeps going towards it. Just I really have to rein it in a lot. But that's just me and how I am. And I wonder, I don't know. Do you deal with that at all? I think
I don't.
we no, because never.
Because for no, I haven't been able to figure out what was going to happen all along. So I've never been somebody that did it, and you just don't know. I saw a thing on Facebook, somebody, so how'd you do making a 5-year plan back in 2015 for what you're going to do in 2020? how's that going for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That way you had no idea you're going to be locked up in your house for months on end. So you just don't know. You don't know. I mean, it says in James, that or not to don't be I can't quote that off the top of my head. But anyway, about that we don't know what's coming ahead. It's presumptuous to say I'm going to go do this tomorrow, and
So,
that's presuming on God's what he has for you. So and so we need to be in the moment, living in the moment, and not too far ahead. Make plans, but we can't anticipate what he's going to do. So it is good that you do still have your children at home, and that does still matter as far as your time. They are still a high priority. Even as you and move through the high school years, it becomes very important. Sometimes people think kids don't need you in their high school years, and oh yeah, they do. That's when you need to be available for late night talks with your daughter about random things. Anyway, you could have talked to Cheryl last night. You'd have known. We had some of our better conversations, like at 11 to 12 o'clock at night. She was in high school, because that's when she was ready to say things to me. But if I had to get up and go to a job the next morning or something, then I would not have spent the time with her. So you need to invest now while you have that, and then there'll be plenty of. I'm gonna give you the same speech, but you heard that I've said that to many, 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 many women, because I had to learn it myself. So I'm not saying something I didn't do, but is that you can't do everything at one time, but you need to live in the moment where you are, and try to appreciate it so you don't have any regrets, and let God in the future, he can give. There's a lot of years. It's been a really long time since my children have lived in my home with me. And so I've had a lot of the stuff that we've done in ministry were after they left. I mean, they were in college, so they were no longer living with us. Um, but we've had a plenty, and so there's been lots of opportunities, but there's no guarantee on that, and so we didn't anticipate. We were just glad to be a part of what we were doing as we did it. We did really, really look forward to June of 1992, when we were going to go full-time ministry, when Kenny was the last year or two. That was our goal. June of 92 is like it was never going to come. But it did, and look how long ago that was. Oh my goodness, June of 92. But that was the big thing. So that was one time I was really, and but while I was doing that, I was still doing ministry stuff where we were at the time. I just wanted to do more, same as what you're feeling. But the time had to go by. Kenny needed to graduate from high school, and then we would be available to relocate and stuff. So.
well, I have several things to think about and chew on, and um, uh, I'm gonna type up highlights, in a blog because I just, like doing that because some people like to read instead of watching, and I get it. And
Well,
plus,
3 hours.
I do it
No,
for
I think.
myself too, to highlight things that stood out to me, just so I can research it later and go back to it. So I'll be doing that, um, including the verses, like your life verse first, or not. I don't know. Did you say that was your life verse or your kind of ministry verse? I got to go back and
It's our
hear what you said.
ministry. It's our ministry verse.
Ministry verse was First Thessalonians 2:8. Um, okay, yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time, Carol, and I know I'm gonna talk to you again, and what, like, I don't know, like 9 hours or so for our weekly meeting. But um, but I hope that this time of just picking your brain and asking you questions about, this legacy. I know that sounds like a big word, but that's what I saw the fruit of that in that birthday call. You know, it's nothing like seeing it and hearing it, and I'm really glad to be a part of that, and to know that I'm like there are others that you're investing in. And then I heard about their families that and their children that are also producing fruit, and your investment has a direct impact on their families and then their children. Wow, that's what I hope to have with my children. That's why I make sure to do Bible studies with them, that they would know God's word and be familiar with it, like I am familiar with it, like you taught me. I want them to know I can open up the Bible. It says this. They're very familiar. They can find passages on their own. They know where things are, and I do that with them because you did that with me.
Mhm.
And I think that's the best thing that I can teach them here in the home is how to know how to feed themselves with the word of God, and then how to live it out, because they can
Mhm.
remember how maybe I lived it out in their life here. Um, yeah. So
Yeah,
thank you.
your children, your children are, there's the value of the individual. They're individuals, they're people, they have eternal souls. So what you invest in them is of value, and you have no idea how God will use them or their children or, you know, in the future. That's not, we don't know. We just do what we can do and should do right now. So it's an opportunity that God gives you children, invest in them. Not just say, oh, these are just my children. I just feed them and stuff, but play with them. No, they're people too. They're individuals, and so what you invest in them, I think it's great that all the time that you do. It's a really good thing. You're going to see fruit of it in the future, I'm sure. So I appreciate you letting me talk. I don't, I don't mind talking, and I enjoy talking about what God has done. It was fun to review a lot of that last night to just see the people He brought in my life and how much I care about each one of them, and it was just a really fun time. And so I think I would encourage anybody that is stirred to reach out to somebody else, that you will be blessed. You will just be majorly blessed by what God will do in your life and in the other person's life.
All right. All right. Well then, thank you, Carol. Um that's I think we'll end then there. If
Okay.
I can pray for you, which is feels weird for me to say that, but just can we just close in prayer? I mean, I ask
Mhm.
people to pray for this time that we would have, and um, that it would help someone else, whoever watches it, that they would find something in here to help them on their own journey with God. So I just want to close with that. And if you'd like to pray too at the end, I'd like that as well. It doesn't have to be long, just something. Okay. Okay. All right. I will pray. Okay. So,
Okay.
um, God, I thank you so much for today. I thank you for Carol. My whole family knows Carol and Lee, and we we recognize um, just the value that they have brought to our family and our marriage and my life. I just thank you for what they're doing. I thank you, Lord, and that's they are obedient to your call to just reach out and, invite someone to join them in their home for coffee or even to go over spiritual matters. God, they just give the invitation to those that you put on their mind and on their heart. And I thank you, Lord, for their obedience in just doing that as you work in and through them, Lord, touching so many lives over so many places that they have lived, God, that where you have sent them, Lord. And I pray that you will continue to use them, both of them. Um, I pray, Lord, for whatever is next in their lives. It might be a specific discipleship ministry in their new church home in Meadow Ridge, God, or it might be something else. But either way, God, I am just so thankful for Carole and her willingness to just encourage me in my journey with you. I talk of Carole often and sharing, that this is how I've grown to know you more and follow you more, and why I do some of the things that I do is simply a direct reflection of what she's done with me. So I just thank you, Lord, that we can pass on and even create new legacies by the choices that we make in our lives. Because I did not have this in my life growing up, as you know, God, coming to you as an adult as well. Um, but I pray that my children, though, will they are obvious they have a different life than I had, and they can make different choices than I made. And I'm just thankful, Lord, for that, because it can change even with my actions in how I parent them. And I thank you, God, for that knowledge and understanding of your ways, that you were able to share with me through Carole, taking the time to meet with me. So, Lord, I pray if there's anyone out there listening, who sense you moving in their lives and wanting them to do something, to step out in a certain way, to reach out to someone and just help them along in their journey with what they know. Lord, I pray, God, that they would be bold enough to just invite the person and to ask, because you are indeed working in all of our lives, and maybe they are also praying for someone to join, to help them along, and God's just pairing them together. So, Lord, I pray, God, for obedience, in those who know you and follow you. And I know that through the obedience there will be fruit that will come in time, when it's time. So, Lord, I just thank you for these things. Amen.
And Father, I thank you too for the opportunity that you give each one of us to be a part of what you're doing in this world. Um, you could just do it all by yourself without our involvement, but you allow us to be a part of what you're doing in reaching other people. And you allow us to see many times, um, some of the changes you're making in them. You allow us to see you answer prayers in their life that they're praying. And what a privilege it is to see you work, and how encouraging it is in our own lives to know that the world may look crazy, but in reality, you are working and changing people and bringing about a people of your own. Father, thank you for my relationship with Sejana and how you brought her into my life. And thank you for her heart for you and her perseverance through all these years of studying with me. And thank you that you have done wonderful work in her. And I know that you have already been using her in many people's lives and that you will continue. And I pray for her family that they would, as it says in Proverbs 31, rise up and call her blessed for the way that she has uh, been a wife and a mother, and one who has modeled and taught your word. Thank you for this opportunity to encourage and to use technology uh, in this way, even though we're so far apart and people could be watching this that we don't know. But Father, I just thank you for the privilege that it is and how amazing you are. Thank you, Lord. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All righty.
Okay. All
I'll
right. I'll see you later.
talk to you later. Yes. Bye. Thank you so much, Carol. Bye.
Okay. Bye.